In today's episode, I show you how I put together the courtyard and curtain wall for our playable Dungeons & Dragons keep. So I did a simple layout for the courtyard and designed it with a little bit of extra space to accommodate for some future plans. I'm considering adding in a stables and a blacksmith. So I really just put in a few lines for where a road would be, as well as where the hillsides are going to be set up. Alright, so first thing I did, once I had the layout set, was do some rough cutting with the hot wire foam cutter. I cannot stress this enough, wear a respirator when you do stuff like this. I didn't and regretted it considerably. I ended up coughing for like a day straight. And then I did a little bit of bevel, and this is just to help create the kind of hillside and rocky terrain. Then, using a little bit of all-purpose adhesive, I fit a couple of pieces together to create a little bit of elevation. And then, to ensure it doesn't slide around while everything is curing, I put a few toothpicks through just to kind of help hold everything into place. Then, after giving it about a half hour to cure and dry, I used the end of a stiff metal ruler to kind of carve in all of the rocky texture, making sure to blend the two elevations to kind of give it a seamless fit. And now, to make sure everything lines up correctly before going ahead, I'm going to just fit the two pieces together on a pair of 2-foot by 2-foot boards, just to make sure everything lines up. And this will also give me the chance to kind of plot out where various things need to go, like the road, the fact that it needs to incline up, and things like that. So, looking back, I probably should have left a little bit of extra foam here and then just kind of shaved it down, but what I ended up having to do to create the incline for the road was slowly build up a few layers of foam along with a few scraps to kind of create a gentle slope from one edge up to the section where it connects to the courtyard. Now, I'm not going to show that whole process on camera, just know that I used a whole bunch of scraps and leftovers to achieve the effect. And then once I had the slope the way I wanted it, I fitted the road surface into place with a little bit of hot glue. Next, to help disguise the random extra foam bits that were used for the incline, I added these foam bricks as a retaining wall that kind of wraps around the edge of the roadway. This will help disguise everything and kind of help give a little bit of extra detail to the piece. Now, I'm not going to fill in the roadway with gravel or anything like that in this video, but when we do get to that point, this retaining wall will help kind of keep everything in place. And then we can start using the bricks to start building the curtain wall. Now, I sized these bricks to be roughly a 1/2 inch by a 1/2 inch in their width and depth, and then the length of the bricks is roughly 1 inch. So, using that, I can scale the wall to be roughly 5 bricks tall, and that gives it about a 2.5 inch height, which I think is going to be really nice for easy playability, as well as being able to see over the walls while at the game table without necessarily having to stand up. And as you can see, occasionally, just to kind of reinforce everything and hold everything in place, I skewer a toothpick through and just kind of push it down into the base layer of foam. So once the curtain wall is built, I add a few little support pillars. These don't really add any structural support, they just kind of look nice. Now, as to how far apart I put them, it's kind of arbitrary. Occasionally I carve out a little section of the hillside and place them in just to kind of give them a little bit more visual, but it's really every 2.5 to 3 bricks I will put one of these support pillars. And now to start sealing all the foam, I do a mix of black paint and Mod Podge, and then do a full coating of that over all of the foam pieces. Now, the brickwork does make this a little interesting, and I end up going over it again with a smaller brush to fill all the crevices. Now, while that is drying, I create a courtyard groundwork. Now, all I'm really doing is taking a few sheets of foam board and drawing in a 1" by 1" grid. Now, once the grid is drawn, I exaggerate the lines with the end of a paintbrush just to give them a nice defined visible grid. This will help to enhance the playability inside the courtyard. And then I can add some extra little details, such as carving in a few broken pieces of tile, and for a few of them I take the end of a paintbrush and squish a section down to represent kind of a broken and removed section of the stonework. Now, before I paint this, I'm going to mark down any areas that need to be cut off and make sure it fits flush inside the courtyard. And once everything is cut to size, I add some texture with a aluminum foil ball. This will give it a nice kind of stony rock texture. Alright, so now let's go ahead and get painting. So, as with the last video, I'm going to stipple on a layer of Artist Loft Gray onto all of the rocky stone texture of the hills. This will once again create a nice baseline to work with, while still showing some of the darker regions of the black Mod Podge to kind of give some shadows. And then I'll do the same thing with all of the brickwork. Now, for the bricks, it's a little less of a stippling motion and more of an overbrush, just to kind of help enhance some of the darker regions and give a little bit more of contrast. Once that's done, I stipple on a few patches of burnt umber over all of the stonework, leaving a few gaps for a few extra colors. This will create a nice kind of rocky patchwork appearance. Then I use some raw umber to fill in all of the remaining patched areas. And then using some raw sienna, I stipple a few lines in between all of these patches to kind of create the appearance of marble stone or kind of rocky seams throughout the hillside. And then finish it off with a fairly substantial dry brushing of some neutral gray. And while we're at it, we can also do a dry brush over all of the bricks with the neutral gray to kind of create some highlights. This will also help to kind of accentuate the shadowed areas and give them a much stronger brick appearance. Now for the actual courtyard floor, we're going to coat the entire thing in Mars Black. This is going to create a very deep recessed shadow so that all of the grid lines are easily viewable, but it gives the strong appearance of shadows of laid stonework. Then I do an overbrush with some gray to accentuate the surface layer of all of the stone. And then finish it off with a dry brush of neutral gray. As you can see, this really does kind of give it a lot more life, but you can still clearly see all of the damaged sections as well as the shadows. Then, using a little bit of tacky glue, I carefully fit everything into place. Now, some of these sections didn't quite line up correctly into all the corners, so off camera I made a few pieces to fit into the recesses that didn't quite have enough filler. Alright, and just like that, the courtyard is finished. Alright, so here we are with a quick little pass over of the courtyard itself. In a later video, we will finish out the road leading up to the courtyard and the curtain wall. All in all, this is a really good addition to the keep itself, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Now, it does look a little plain right now, but we're going to enhance that in a later video. Now, in our next video, we are going to match this up to the keep and build our first floor. So thank you everyone for watching. Please hit that like button, subscribe for future content, comment in the comments section, and we will see everyone next episode.